Hey everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider, and I am here at our media studio at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is presented by Campari. Huge thank you to Campari for being our main sponsor. Really appreciate it. It allows us to do interviews like for you guys, and you had to be there. I really want to start with congratulations on the documentary, and it's really, really cool to get to talk to you guys and to you about it. Million questions, but there's going to be a lot of people out there who don't know anything about it, and I hate doing the generic thing, but what can you tell people about it?
In 1972, in Toronto, they did a production of the musical Godspell, which had opened in New York in 71 off-Broadway and been a big hit about the life of Jesus. And in Toronto, they had a cast of totally unknown people who all came together and auditioned on the same day, March 25th, 1972. And from that production, which opened on June 1st, 1972 at the Royal Alex, where the film premieres in a few hours, it launched all these careers that we have heard about, including among the people on this couch, and then Gilda Radner, Martin Short, Andrea Martin. It's a ridiculous coming together of all these talents who exploded onto the scene before Saturday Night Live, before SCTV, and it was in many ways the root of the comedy explosion of the last 50 years. So our film, You Had to Be There, is about that production and all it led to.
What?
Really good.
He has practiced that at least twice.
You must have produced this. It's extraordinary.
And now I need my coffee.
Okay.
Or at least directed.
One of the things about this, though, and I really wanted to ask the three of you, what the F was in the water in Toronto in the early 70s?
Alcohol?
Campari.
Oh, yes. Well done.
The movies reminded me about how there was an open call in Toronto. And I guess it was an age thing in the call, you know. And so it was a New York show, a musical. The last time this had happened in Toronto was when Hair opened up here. And the same thing, everyone in the right age group was there auditioning. So, and that was the case here. Everybody with talent was there. And a guy named Howie Sponsler, who was the director, whittled it down like on American Idol. People, you know, you got to go home or you're going through, you know, to the finals. And Stephen Schwartz, the composer, this was his first show. You may have heard of him. But he knew, I mean, not only did he write the music for gospel, he was really the maven. He knew this show better than any of them, and was up here casting it. And of the people that Howie had whittled it down, he just found the funniest, most talented people that one could imagine. That's all, you know, that's my breakdown.
Well, there are some of us who are not known for comedy. One of the things I remember about our auditions was that we were asked to get into groups and do the parables. They gave us a parable to do. Yeah. And everybody was trying desperately to be the one that was the funniest and had the biggest part. And I just wanted to get to a party I was supposed to go to, and I had food to take. So I just stood in the back.
Priorities.
Absolutely. I stood in the back and smiled and did very little. And I thought, well, that's me out. But there is a part in the show for someone who stands in the back and does very little.
And sings the most beautiful song, practically. One of the most beautiful songs ever written.
Yeah.
So, and
thanks
which she
to
did
Peggy.
Perfectly. So
God bless you, darling.
No, it's true.
God bless you.
Well, that's
so
true.
So I think I haven't seen the film, but I think it's something that I would like to pass on to people who are going into the business, young people, that not everybody becomes a star. But if you get a break like we got, a chance to have a life-changing collaboration with beautiful people who were so much fun.
Why do you look at me when you say that?
Because you left us.
Because you're beautiful.
Okay.
Because you're still beautiful.
Carry on.
All right, darling. Thank you.
And he left us. He feels so guilty, by the way. He's never gotten over it.
Yeah,
that he left the company because he
got
in the movie.
Not everybody who does a show with comedy in it becomes a comedian. So your life paths change, but if you find people that are truly touch your heart, they stay there forever. So that when you meet them again, it's as if you just left them yesterday. And nobody, I can say quite honestly, nobody, like at the party we did, had changed to be unrecognizable. In spite of everything that everyone's accomplished and done, they were still the same people they were back then. And I think that's one of the keys of why the show worked, is because they put together people who were real. Yeah. Talented, but real, and very generous. Everybody gave of themselves generously. Well, yeah, some were better than others, but you can't talk about that.
I must say, Valda's being very modest about her own career, but she is an international performer who has done musicals in New York and has worked extensively in London, where she still resides. She has done multi-plays with Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah, we don't agree politically, but it's okay.
And they don't agree politically. But you know, she's don't let her fool you. This
I hope he doesn't see this. I'll never work again.
She's a pro with a beautiful singing voice.
Thank you. You said that exactly right. Thank you.
It was. I remember very specifically the audition day, and then the party when we were chosen. That I found out that day, and then there was a party that night or the next night at somebody's at Howie's Sponsellers.
I think it was Howie.
Yes, and he was the director, and who he was, and all I definitely remember this, and I'm not good with memories, but I remember thinking I'm surrounded by an incredible group of people. I knew it then, and I was very, very conscious that my life had changed, and it really had.
One of the things that I don't think people are going to realize is the popularity of Godspell in the early 70s. Can you sort of talk about, if you don't mind, because, you know, what it was at that time period and how much everyone was talking about it and what a big deal it was?
Yeah, it exploded in New York. And so the producer said, they caught lightning in a bottle. And so let's put it on all over the world. And so there were productions in London and Melbourne and Boston and, all over, because it seemed to capture both something essential about the teachings of Jesus, but also something about the time in which it was written. And that spirit of love and openness and joy really struck a chord then in the early 70s. And I think the show itself could be revived if it were done in the same spirit that these guys did it in Toronto. I think the show has acquired a weird sort of saccharine, sentimental, kumbaya reputation. But I actually think if you go back to what John Michael Tebelak and Stephen Schwartz were intending, I think the show could be huge today.
Kumbaya.
But that was that concept of putting it in different cities. That hadn't ever happened that way that I recall. I mean, that they in every it was
you
not.
got hair though. Well, as well as Toronto, they were everywhere.
Yeah, I guess
LA,
that's true.
They were at the
Never
Aquarius
mind.
Theater. They were in London.
Well, I wasn't interested in hair.
Well,
because naked and me on the stage.
You wouldn't have done the nude scene.
No,
remember,
I wouldn't
that was
have.
the big thing with it.
I won't today either. Don't ask
John
me.
Michael Tebelak. Well, today, is another story.
Let me just no.
John Michael Tebelak is the name of the book, the guy who wrote this and conceived it, Godspell, the original one. It was his thesis at Carnegie Mellon University, where he was a divinity student. I think it was called Carnegie Tech at the time. And he conceived of this. What if Jesus was a clown and all his disciples were clowns, and he told the parables, but, everyone in clown makeup and everyone can bring in their own talents and show off and tell a parable, as Groucho Marx. Somehow people were doing a lot of Groucho at the time. So that's the worst parable I ever heard.
Ed Sullivan.
And it was, yes, and this was kind of a 60s influence, early 70s. Maybe John Michael was coming up with it in the 60s, the era of peace and love and, and goodness. And this show certainly carried that vibe into the 70s, and that's why it's been hard to revive it. It's very much of that period.
Well, people are so cynical now, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't work if it were done in the spirit of today's joy, if we can find it.
Let me know about that, will you?
I'm looking.
I'm still looking for the joy.
I am so curious, though, for the two of you. I don't think people realize like how much energy it took to put that play, to do it 8 times a week. And so could you sort of talk about what it was like doing it and stepping off stage? And I know you left to do the movie, but you still did it for a while. I'm just curious, what is it like being in a play like that?
Well, let me just start by saying every show in the theater, every 8 shows a week is hard for everybody, no matter what show it is. The schedule of theater is not for sissies, and it's really, you really got to be able to, and you've got to be in perfect health for every performance or you're in trouble. It was incredibly, it was so exhilarating to be in that show that we all sort of carried each other. If somebody was not feeling well, or if somebody was under the weather, we just kind of compensated, and vocal problems were addressed as we went ahead. But it was an incredibly collaborative experience for everybody, and I think that was true for most of the Godspell productions everywhere. There was just, I don't know, the Toronto company though was, well, I guess that's why we're here today.
Yeah. I mean, there are some quite famous people who came out of the London production as well.
Yes.
David Essex
and Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons, and went more into the theatrical bit rather than into comedy or whatever. But yeah, I remember being in pain a lot because we used to do silly things. I used to do silly things like take a flying leap off the front of the stage when, the scene where Jesus is clearing out the temple, and we're all kind of overacting and going hysterical. And I, the shin splints were amazing.
What do you mean?
Darling, there was no limit to what we did.
She's a British theater now.
I am, darling. I am. No, but it was very, I think that's why we partied rather hard, because you give everything you can and you don't leave the stage either, because at the interval, in the intermission, you stayed on.
The interval in Britain.
Sorry, you handed out wine or grape juice, depending on where you were, and talked to the audience, which was also, I thought, a joyful thing, because had it been not a hit and people hated it, it would have been awful to have to stay on the stage and talk to people. But everybody came on and wanted to. And they were just full of happiness, and it was really wonderful.
It was unique.
It was.
One of the things about this doc that makes it is thanks to Martin Short for being a bootlegger, and I don't. Wait, is that the right term? Yeah, bootlegger.
Bootlegger.
Yeah, I was thinking alcohol. I'm like, is that the anyway? So, but he recorded that performance in November, I believe it was, in '72, and he also recorded all his conversations. And there's a lot of audio that made
He's recorded his entire life. Yeah. There's not a minute that went by that Marty didn't have some sort of camera on himself.
It's said of Marty Short, he recorded during the first half of his life, and the second half he's playing it back.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's a lot of people record, but then they don't really do anything with it. At least, anyway, where I'm going at is what would have happened with this doc without that audio and without, I don't want to talk specifically about certain footage, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, look, limitations are fantastic for an artist of any kind. And certainly for a filmmaker, I didn't think there was any footage. And in fact, there was no footage. There was one clip of a rehearsal that had been recorded, I guess, the week before they opened. But the first time I met Marty, he told me about these audio tapes, and he'd snuck in and, as you say, illegally recorded, or surreptitiously, shall we say, recorded a performance in November of '72. And I thought, well, that's gold, And he and Paul had cleaned it up a few years ago, and they sent it to me, and I was like, this is it right here. And that same first lunch I had with Marty, he told me, and I took it to cast parties and stuff, so I'll send you that too. And it was amazing. Now, what would we have done without that? I don't know. I'm happy I never had to figure that out. But I was fine with there being no footage. And we'd have figured something out.
Yeah, I mean, but you also, I really like the way you used animation to help tell the story. And can you sort of talk about the choice you made of the look and feel of that animation?
Yeah, so the animation is done in the style of 1972. So it's sort of a Scooby-Doo meets Yellow Submarine kind of feeling. Like it has a psychedelia aspect to it, but it's Hanna-Barbera. It's like children's cartoons. So they've all been turned into cartoons. And when you're watching the film, it's aged, and we worked really hard. Jane Mendelsohn, my wife and co-writer, and I, we worked really hard to get the colors exactly right, the way they would have been on a TV from the 70s, so that you feel like you're watching archival material from the time when you're watching this animation, which was done beautifully by Richard O'Connor at Ace & Sons.
I just realized, do you know there's animation in the movie?
I know it's there, but I have seen none of it. It's going to be a completely new thing for me, the whole film, everything. I've got my tissues with me.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be a mess tonight.
I am already.
Yeah, like, you know, no, because it's so well done, and it's your life, you know?
It's my life. Yes, it's 50 years ago. Can you believe?
Not pick numbers.
No.
Is it that? No.
So if I don't remember a party, cut me some
the
slack.
whole point was to bring that to life, so that you feel like it's not 50 years ago. It's now. It's happening.
Yeah.
You have to be here right now, and it's happening. And the goal of the animation was to feel like, wow, this is really crisp and happening now.
So is that what you're going to call the sequel? You have to be here.
Yeah.
Well, this one's called "You Had to Be Here."
I know.
Oh,
the sequel.
I heard you.
Excuse me.
I heard you say
I'm here.
I'm almost out of time, but Paul, I do have to ask you an individual question or two. First is, you have performed with so many amazing musicians through your life, and I have a million questions about that, but I am so curious, was there one or two people, because the amount of people you performed with, that still to this day you're like, I can't believe I performed with that person, or this person's ability as a musician was just, oh my God. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I always, I'm asked the question occasionally, as you might imagine. I always say James Brown, because when I saw him I was about 13, I think, when I first saw him on a concert film called The Tammy Show. He knocked me out then, and he continues to, even to this day. But he invented so much of the dance music that we're still dancing to today. And when first time he did the show in 1982, I never thought, my whole band just locked when he starts singing and dancing. We played better than we ever thought, So that James Brown, and then there's lots of other ones.
I remember there was a performance where, David was such a fan of Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder, and there's a clip online that you can find where Eddie comes out and surprises Dave, and you guys start performing. Do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah. Dave was very into the band and a certain song. Was it called Black?
Yeah.
And he was so into it that he was just kind of singing it sometimes, always singing this certain refrain, and starting to talk about Eddie Vedder too. And really, you could see he was into this band, and somehow somebody made it happen. Eddie came in kind of last minute. They rushed him up to my dressing room so that Dave wouldn't see him. It'd be a surprise, and we just went over through. He was very serious about it, but. One section, we can do that. He got a section together, and then we went down and did it. He just came out,
By the way, if you haven't seen the clip, the reason it's amazing is Dave has no idea what's happening. Paul sets it up. Eddie comes on stage, does it. Dave's losing his mind, and then Eddie just leaves.
He's out.
And then Dave is like looking, Eddie, like he wants to talk to him, and he's just gone. It's an amazing clip.
Came in through a door, led right out to the street, and then he left on that very same door.
Yeah, it's a great bit, just because you can see the wheels turning, like what the F is going on right now.
But the Britney Spears drop in was pretty good too. That's another whole story.
Listen, I got to stop with you guys, and I'm just going to say that I really know you're going to have an amazing night. Definitely take some video and pictures and stuff like that. And thank you so much for coming in, and have a fantastic TIFF.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
you.
Thanks
Thanks for having us. You were terrific.
Great way to start the day, I'll tell you.